Now let's move over to the skirt. And the first thing we have to do is to make sure these are grouped and then align them. So I'm aligning the markers up here. I'm holding my control key down to move them straight across. Zooming in real tight using my mouse wheel. Still holding my control key. And then I'm going to select the next one. So this is already aligned to that. Those two are aligned. I'm selecting both by just holding down the shift key, holding the control key and moving it over. Still holding the control key. And lastly, I'm going to group this. Select these three. By holding down your shift key, just select multiple objects. Using the mouse wheel to zoom very close in to make sure those top marker lines are aligned. So all that's aligned, and I'm going to space these out, and then we're going to put in our body lines. Spacing them out, I'm still holding the control key. Hold the shift key, select all four, and ungroup. Now, we need the high hip line and we need the hip line. My hip drop, which is the total distance from the waist to the hip line, is 7.5. Half of that is 3 3/4. So I'm going to offset 3 3/4. I'm going to offset the waist 3 3/4. And then I'm going to do it a second time. I'm going to intersect those lines to the center back tool to break in between each pattern. So I'm going to click once to select the line to break and then double click. And then we're going to intersect each line to the outer seam line. All right, so that's all done. All right, next we're going to move over to the hemming. And I want to make sure everything's ungrouped. All right, I'm going to put a 2-inch hem in, so I'm going to offset 2 inches. And then just go ahead and put the hems in. Okay, because this is a tapered skirt, this line, and this line are all tapered in. So I need to apply my hack in order to not have negative ease. And this folds up and stitches in beautifully into the body of the garment. These two I can simply intersect to the hem cut line as I can with this. And that's straight, so I can go ahead and intersect this end. That's straight, so I can go ahead and intersect this end. Now, on these tapered lines, what I want to do is to mimic this angle going into the hemline. So it was a 2-inch hemline. I'm going to put a point 2 inches above the turn up. We'll do it on all of these. There's only 2 I need to do. So we're going to break each of these at those points. Click once on the line, then double right click. I'm going to hold my shift key and select both of these and flip it on the horizontal axis. I'm going to hold my shift key and select both of them again. And while holding my control key down, I'm going to move these straight down. To meet up with the hem turn up. I can go ahead and get rid of these points now. And then I can go ahead and intersect to here. Now this can also be accomplished by pressing up on your hem turn up and then cutting the hem, the excess seam allowance, along the seam allowance above. Next, we're going to go ahead and finish these off with our cutting lines, grain line markers, and the stitching lines. First, let's go to the center front. Center front line is 25 inches. So we're going to put a place on fold grain line marker at 20 inches vertically. Add a bit of text at a 90-degree angle. I'm going to put this at 0.1. I'm going to come down here and remove that and modify the date. It's 0.15 height and cut 1. And then just kind of scooch these over. Holding down the shift key, I'm going to go ahead and select all of the cut lines and change them over to a dashed stitching line. And then I'm going to offset my seam allowance, which is 0.625 or 5/8, and add my cutting lines. Don't forget to hit your space bar to repeat your command. And then we're going to intersect all those up. And then we can come down here and intersect to here. So the center front is done. We're going to group it and then just kind of move it out of the way. Select this pattern, zoom in. That's the skirt side front. We will be modifying this to create our pocket. So I will not be adding stitching lines to this just yet, or cutting lines. I will, however, be grouping the grain line marker. So I'm going to select it and group it and move it out of the way this way. Let's come to this one. I'm going to break this center back line at the top of the kick plate because I'm going to change this to a different style of line than the dash stitching line. And then I'm going to change this to a dash dot dash, which I use for my fold line. I'm going to put a text down here. At 90 degrees and 0.1 height. Right side fold back. I can Now we're going to offset our cutting lines. That was a boo-boo. Now we can intersect. was a boo-boo. Let's go back down here. Actually, and then that has to be changed back. And re-intersected. I'm going to go ahead and intersect that to that. Alright, so that one's done. And we're going to modify that.